sound, you know.
You mean like me?
I didn't name names. Like, I mean,
it could be any Blake. It could be any Blake with a. It could be any Blake with
you're
a
not
Y.
the only Blake that I know. Oh. God, we always start with a giggle. We always like find somewhere. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 23 of the Board Game Gateway podcast. This week, we are going to be talking about board gaming friendships that is it about the game or the journey that we had along the way? I don't know. We'll find out.
Now it's like I'm in English class.
Oh, God. My name is Neva, and I'm your host for this evening, and I'm joined by two of my lovely co-hosts, Mr. Ralph.
Hey, everyone.
And Mr. Blake.
Good to be here.
And, of course...
Hello, Blake.
And once again, Matt is not joining us this week. He will be coming back. We promise that he is still alive. We think.
We definitely haven't booted him.
Yeah, definitely haven't.
I think he's just busy composing our new entrance music or something. That's what in my mind. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. And Matt, if you're listening to this, you better be doing that. Oh, anyway, if this is the first time listening to the podcast, this is your entryway into the world of board gaming, tabletop gaming, and fun times. And look, we've spent tonight. We've got a good one going for you because we're taking it back. I like to say we're taking it back to one of the classic gateway games tonight. We're going to be having a chat about Sushi Go. But before we get there, we're going to have a chat about what the games that we played this week. We actually had a little bit of a gaming night session last night, and we decided to play a couple of games that we hadn't really played before. But the one that we want to talk about, have a quick chat about, is Gizmos. And we played this on Board Game Arena, and if you've never heard of Gizmos, it's essentially a quintessential engine builder turning cubes into more cubes, except in Gizmos, your cubes are not cubes, they're balls. So the game itself is a really simple game. You have four very simple actions, which is just basically building a machine, filing your machine away to do later, searching through one of the research decks to find different machines. I shouldn't be saying machines, they are in fact gizmos, as the game would say, and essentially converting, taking energy that you would need to build. Those are the four actions of the whole game. And it really the game itself starts with a very simple premise. You have one gizmo, and that gizmo says, hey, when you file something away, grab a random thing, grab a random energy. Okay, cool. It doesn't really sound that like a lot is happening, but then everyone starts building little gizmos that do things. Blake, you had an engine going in our first game where it was like every time you built something, you just were gaining energy that you could then use to build the next thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think every turn I was building something because the building action gave me enough energy to then do my next build action, and I just was able to rush enough before you guys got your renderings up. I still didn't know what I was doing. I was just still finding my way through the game, but
it worked.
It was a lot of fun.
You won the game. So the game ends when one of two things happens. Either someone builds their 16th gizmo, or you build 4 level 3 gizmos. So the level 1 gizmos cost you like 1 energy of a specific color, whereas the ones in the level 3 range will cost you 5 of a specific energy or 7 of all types of energy. So your initial lot, you can only store 5 of them as well. So you have to build up how much stuff you can do and go from there. Now, I'd like to get your reactions. Ralph, what did you think of the game? Like, we played a couple of it last night. Granted, we played it online, so we lost a bit of the tactility of the game because the game actually does come with like this bucket of balls that you just pick balls out of, and you actually has a little conveyor belt that they fall down onto.
Oh, that's fancy, like a dice tray sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's kind of, if you imagine like the old Kerplunk, where you have like the sticks in and the marbles would fall down. Imagine that with a little conveyor belt coming out the bottom, so that the balls literally roll out onto it. So as you pick one, the new ones roll out. And there's an action which is called the pick action, which is when sometimes I'll say go pick a random energy. To pick a random energy, you literally dunk your hand in the bucket and grab a random ball from inside of it and then pick it out, and that's
it's like
the
a gumball machine.
Yeah, pretty much. So we lost a lot of that, and I think part of the appeal of this game is that. But
if I knew that, I would have been eating Skittles at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. But like losing that tactility, though, what did you think of the actual gameplay of the game?
Initially, I was disappointed because my favorite Paul Jennings book is called The Gizmo, and it had nothing to do with that. So I was just like, what is this? We're building an engine? That doesn't happen in the book. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. The fact is, when you build your little gizmo, like, it gives you little perks, like, you have extra capacity to store more gizmos, or when you pick a certain color, you get to pick again. Like, it sort of cascades. And what I really liked about it was the filing mechanic. So if I see a tile there or a gizmo that I didn't want Blake to have, or that I wanted to reserve that for myself, that was within my power on my turn to save that for later. But of course, that also meant you guys could see Ralph needs 5 blues. I could just steal the blues away from him. Like, so it made that engagement a little interesting. For a game that didn't have a lot of interaction, there was still that little bit of take that sort of thing, which is really cool.
Yeah, I like that mechanic. And at the start of the game, you can only file one gizmo away, and there are some cards that allow you to eventually file an extra one.
Yeah, you have more storage.
Yeah, and there are gizmos that basically say every time that you file a thing, grab some energy. So there's a whole bunch of different routes that you can take. You can take the build strategy. I tried doing the file strategy, which didn't really work in the first game. Or, like, for example, I did in the second game, I decided to go big into the research track, which was like every time I decided to do a research action, which is just look at one of the 3 face-down decks of gizmos, you're initially only allowed to take 3. But by the end of the game, I was looking at 8 gizmos. So I just kept picking up the level 3 deck every single time, going, okay, I this turn have enough gizmo. I think I'll have enough to get the black one this time, so I'll pick that level 3 gizmo and file it away. And I don't know, there were some really interesting things here. I think, as we did say, we did kind of lose a bit of the tactility of what I think some of this game has, which is like, it's not energy cubes, it's energy balls, like little marbles. And I think we did lose a little bit of that in the game. However, this is very much a quintessential engine builder.
Yep.
If you haven't heard that term before, it very simply means that you start with nothing and you then come up with something on the fly that then allows you to do something. So, for example, Blake's engine was all about every time he built a black building, he would get to pick 2 random energies and then 3 energies of his choice. And so then you lean into something that you've built, and by the end of the game, it should leave you going, I believe, a good engine builder makes you go, yeah, but if I had one more turn, my engine really would have been
There's
humming
always
along.
that element.
Yeah. What did you think, though? Did you think that it had it by the end?
I would definitely like a few more plays. Even if just to see the full sort of layout of cards. I mean, a few of those level 3 cards started to come out where they started to have a few more interesting effects. Like the level 1s and 2s were just sort of cheaper and more expensive versions of the same sort of cards. When you pick a color, you get this bonus. When you file a card, you get this bonus. Or swapping energies, which I didn't lean too much into, but I feel like that's got something to it as well.
Yep.
Swapping around your colors for other colors.
Yeah, it's kind of like all the abilities read really simply, but they combo really well.
That's right. But then the level 3 ones started to come out with really interesting ones. Like you can no longer research for the rest of the game, but you get 8 victory points, or you can use multicolors to build them. Like those are the ones that I was sort of interested in. I don't think I saw enough of them. Like I said, the first game I just didn't really have a plan. I was just laying out cards, and it all seemed to work for me somehow. The second game, I made quite a few errors. I don't know if any of you noticed, but there were, I think, 3 different turns where I literally didn't have an action because I messed up and pressed I could do something.
Didn't realize, no.
There was one card that I had in my file, which was you get a 1 energy discount when you research, when you're picking from the research. So I thought I got 5 red. That means I'd have a limit of 6. So I picked it up, and there was a perfect 6 energy cost red card in the research pile. But I realized that the card was in my file, and I hadn't built it yet.
Right.
And there was nothing else to pick there from. So yeah, I had a few turns like that. Where again, I just think it's learning the different, energy capacity. I ran into that a couple of times in the second game, running out of storage to hold all the energies I was bringing in. So I didn't upgrade enough. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting little game. I thought it's got a lot of replayability. And I look forward to playing a bit more of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I won the second game based on the fact that I bought the level 3 card that said get as many points as excess as energy cubes that you still have in your pile at the end of the game. And I had an energy capacity of like 11. So my whole thing was just
a big swing.
Yeah, it was just like research something or file something and get 5 energy, and then I end up buying 2 of them. So that was the swing that gave me the points. Whereas I was like, okay, I have a big energy capacity. That one works well for me, and I think we go from there. This to me does feel like the step up from Splendor. This feels like Splendor is the bare bone basic sort of engine builder I think you could get, whereas like that says you discount cards to buy them, and therefore you're just trying to figure out your discounts, whereas this one starts adding the fact of like, okay, if we have that, but it's more so you do something and now you will get rewarded for doing more of that thing. It felt like to me.
But in the same vein, I feel like this is maybe the step down in between from ancient. Is it Wonders of the Ancient World? It's a Wonderful
Seven
World.
Wonders.
It's a Wonderful World.
Yeah.
Where you're doing the same sort of thing. You're building an engine. You're trying to build an engine, build up an empire. Quote unquote, with all these different colored cubes. It's got a lot of the same sort of mechanics in it. But I feel like the theme really grabs me a lot more in that game. You're building an empire. You can see all these different, like you got this wonder, or the big bank, or you can see your empire coming together.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like a lot with these gizmos that were just sort of, even the art
It was
didn't.
like
maybe
it was
maybe
like
it's because
faceless
it's online.
tiles in a way.
Yeah. They're sort of like faceless.
Yeah.
Tiles were a little bit faceless. Again, maybe that was just because it was online, but I didn't feel like I was really building anything. It just felt like I was just massing tiles, where the tiles could have monkeys on them and it wouldn't have changed the game at all. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think it lost it a little bit there for me, but I think the game mechanics itself was definitely worked for me.
It reminded me a lot of Century Spice Road or Century Spice Golem. I've only played Century Spice Road, but the game plays the same, where you have cubes instead of little discs. But the thing is, the cubes have like different ranks, like the yellow is the least, and then if you upgrade that, it becomes a green one, and then the red one, and then the black, I think. So there's different value cubes, but all you're doing is your cards have actions on them, say, get 2 more yellow cubes. So you play a card, and then you keep playing cards to get and convert cubes. And then you get victory points. So like a card will have a victory point value of 12, and you need to cash in 2 black cubes and 2 yellow cubes, and then you get 12 points. And you got to do that 6 times, and that's the whole game. And it's a great game, very gateway and stuff, but it kind of just feels like there's no theme to it. And they try to tack on the theme of like trading spices on the road, but it's just like they're just cubes, and there's a number 12 on the card.
It did feel a bit like that with Gizmos. It did feel like this was just a collection of gizmos with no interconnective tissue between them. Even though you're kind of like, ooh, if I have all these black actions, but by doing it, it still didn't actually feel like that. And I agree with you. Look, I do think I want to give it a couple more goes. I think this is definitely one of those games where it's like it's light enough that if I don't want to play It's a Wonderful World and crunch for 45 minutes, this was literally like, I think if you understand some of the lower, like what, as you said, the cards that we really didn't see in the first couple of plays, then you kind of go, okay, I've got an idea of what I'm building towards.
Look, it's definitely for someone who's introducing other people to those sort of mechanics. Like I kind of take for granted like a mechanic of deck building, of like you get a card, it goes to your discard, you use it later.
And we completely understand that.
We take that for granted because we've done it 1,000 times. So it's definitely got a place in the board gaming world.
Yeah, look, and it's only relatively new. I mean, it's less than 5 years old. I mean, it came out in 2018. So look, this certainly was a take on the engine.
Who's the designer?
It's designed by Phil Walker Harding and it's published by Simon Global. So that's if you're looking for it. But look, it certainly, I think, has a place in the collections because it properly is like, it properly has that, fills that niche between the engine building. I've just shown the boys a photo of what the bucket looks like, and I think I do think having that would totally like it would have a table presence where you're actually physically picking things up. I think it would be a lot of fun.
For those who have played or listened to our our ravings about Dead Reckoning, that'd be like playing Dead Reckoning without dropping your cubes into the pirate ship at the top of the board.
I still haven't done that.
It's
we are going to, Ralph. Don't worry, you will be playing Dead Reckoning this year. I promise you.
I can't wait.
All right. So anyway, that was Gizmos by Phil Walker Harding, published by Simon Games. We're going to now shift to another game that Ralph would like to bring up and have a little bit of a chat about it.
Oh, sure thing. So lately I've been diving deep into Clank Catacombs, which is the latest version in the Clank series. So the gameplay is pretty much the same. If you know Clank already, it plays the exact same. You go down, steal some artifacts from a dragon, and get out of the cave. Plays the exact same way, except you don't know what the map looks like. You have tiles, and you go discovering the map, which is always fun because when you get a tile, you get to orientate how it is. So you can pick, do I want to go into the crystal cave or do I want to avoid it and see what's on the following tile? And you can make like lines, so you can literally connect like a tile with 4 tiles away, like go through half the map. And what's cool, when the cards come out, they manipulate the map. It will say like rotate a tile with another player on it or something like that, so you can stuff other people up, which is really awesome. There's some other little like differences between that and main Clank, but I won't go too much into it. But I'm a bit of a solo gamer, and when I get a new game, I just want to learn it and play it and play it and play it. So Clank actually has an app. It's a companion app, which is a campaign that you play on your own.
Okay.
So you can't even do this multiplayer. Like I tried in the app, can I add another person to this? The answer is no. You verse the AI and that's it. But it gives it a story. And it tells you to take certain cards out of the deck, and you're like, oh, they're going to use that later. I just know it. So when you steal an artifact, a ghost will pop out in the catacomb and haunt you and teleport you to somewhere else, or the map collapses like it's in a video game, or a boss came out and all of a sudden I needed swords to defeat the boss, otherwise I couldn't get out of the cave. So it forces you to build a deck differently to beat the story.
Okay.
And I've only played 3 chapters of it. I don't know how many chapters there are, but I'm really excited.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Clank had that single player. So Catacombs specifically had
No, they
player.
all do.
They do?
Yeah, so the app, I don't know about Clank in Space, but base Clank has it as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I do know. Look, I've always been interested in Clank. Even like what I've been a big D&D nerd. So when I saw Clank Acquisitions Incorporated, I was kind of like,
I'm keen for that one.
I was like, I kind of wanted to go back and play it because just for the name alone.
Yeah.
But I've talked about on the podcast before having when you and Damien and Reese introduced me to Clank. It's a very simple deck builder game, but it basically takes what I love about Dominion, but gives it a bit more focus. Whereas Dominion basically says, here are your combos, figure it out.
Yeah.
Clank says, okay, here's your deck, go and rob this dragon. Don't make a lot of noise, try and find the fastest way out.
Yeah.
But then also gives you the option of says, but if you don't want to be in there, just get out. You can leave. And then everyone else has to try and so it's this kind of mixture of creating a deck to fulfill your wants and needs of this particular game. And oh my God, Blake just decided to leave the cave, and I'm in the he's back in the castle, and I'm literally in the depths of this dragon's lair.
Yeah.
How am I going to get out of here?
And what's cool about this one, not only is there new cards that all do different things, but like you think there's a lot of cards that do minus Clank, like a lot of cards. So you're like, oh, if I'm never making noise, I'm not going to die. But because you're in the catacombs, you discover ghosts, and there's ghost cubes that go in. And it's a white cube, and when it goes in the bag and comes out like normal when the dragon attacks, but when it comes out, it hits every player.
Oh,
So you can build this fantastic deck that's super quiet, but you're going to get hit by these stupid ghosts because it keeps going back in the bag. It doesn't just come out once.
yeah. One of the things about Clank is that I've always, every time I hear Clank, my mind cannot stop thinking about Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, Clank is the sound that your metal boots make when you smack a rock in the middle of the dungeon. And clank, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, that's the worst sound effect I've ever done. But once you understand that the sound mechanic is actually a serious thing of like being swift, being in, and like you can be loud, but you got to have a lot of HP if you're going to do that.
It happened to me in the campaign. I found a prisoner and I was escorting him out, But all of a sudden, he was working with the dragon, and he makes all the noise, and the dragon's coming for you. And I was like, "Fuck!" So that was great. But what's cool about this one as well, I played a 3-player game of it, and normally in Base Clank the map is static, so you can kind of just go down and come out. But with this one, it's a big maze, and there's portals, so you can teleport everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but a lot of places. And you just sit back and look at it halfway through the game, and everyone's in different areas of this catacomb. And you're like, how do I get out of this now? We made this puzzle. Now we got to find a way to get out, which is so cool. Yeah, it's different every time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to giving it a go. I saw it at the latest meetup, which we talked about last week, but I didn't play it because there were other games I wanted to play. But I have to admit, it did look very nice. It had a very lovely table presence, and it made me something that I'm keen to play.
It's definitely something that I need to give a go.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really simple deck builder. It's fantastic. I taught my nephews how to play it over the Christmas break. We played the Base Clank, but that was their introduction to deck building. So, like, even my wife still, she picks up a card and reads it and goes, "Oh, I get to do that now?" And I'm like, "No, it goes to your disc." And she gets it every time. She's like, "Oh, yeah." So, but yeah, so we've been having a lot of fun with Clank lately.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so that were the games that we've played this week, and as I said in our little preamble, we wanted to take it back to a couple of games that, for our gateway game of the week, that we want to take it back to what we think is one of the quintessential card drafting games in Sushi Go. And card drafting is a mechanic that gets used in a lot of different games, but essentially Sushi Go, I think, is one of the most standout games that's out there. I can't remember where it placed on our top 10 board games. I think it was in there.
I think it was in there like 8 or so.
I can't remember. I'd have to go back and check it, but I'm sure it was in our top 10 list. But Sushi Go, for those of you if you've never played it, is played with a card deck of about 96 cards, and you essentially, the theme of the game is we are attending a sushi train. The way that it works is that every player gets a hand of a certain amount of cards. We played 3 players tonight just to refresh our memories, but we didn't really need to because it's that simple of a game. We each got 9 cards, and all you're going to do is very simply pick a card, play that card that you picked, and then pass the rest of your cards to the person on your left. Congratulations, you've just learned how to do card drafting. And where this game becomes really, really great is that they do a few different things. So in the base game of Sushi Go, you've got like different sorts of nigiris. Egg is 1 point, salmon nigiri is a bit better, is worth 2, but squid nigiri is worth 3 points. Or you could try and maybe double those or triple those points by playing a wasabi first, and then dunking that, following it up with a nigiri straight after, and dunking it in the wasabi that you took off. So that could be then, for example, that's 9 points for a squid nigiri and a wasabi. We've also got tempura, which tempura always comes in 2s. So, you've got to eat 2 tempura, otherwise you get no points. We've got dumplings, which everyone loves dumplings. Mm-hmm. So the more of them that you eat, the more points that you get. And we've got the classic sashimi, which is they only come in 3s. And so if you do not get all 3 sashimi in one hit, you get 0 points. And then the little wrinkle at the end of it is that you have the pudding, and the pudding is the dessert. And at the end of the game, the person with the most amount of pudding will get 6 points, and the person with the least amount of pudding gets -6 points. Play 3 rounds of the game, tally up your scores, see who wins. Well, there's only one other thing, which is the chopsticks, which is that if you have a chopstick card in front of you, you can pick up the chopsticks and play 2 cards, which doesn't sound that exciting, but it kind of really helps change the game, because you'll be like, oh, I've got 1 sashimi, and I know that there's 2 sashimi in the hand going around at the moment. Maybe I'll play the chopsticks now and wait for it to come back to me. They're both here. Play my chopsticks, and now I've taken 2 in one hit, and I've been able to
Exactly. The amount of times you're looking at hand, you go, I want both of these cards, but this one's definitely not coming back around to me. So,
no.
But I mean, that obviously means you're taking a turn to pick the chopsticks rather than something else. Set up in advance. I mean, the other element of this game is, if you see someone's playing like with the wasabi, they're setting up, so you're taking the nigiri away from them, so they can't sort of play that. And another reason why the chopsticks is a good card of this game.
Yeah,
has that, it's really simple. You see all sorts of people just pick it up straight away.
It plays 2 to 5, and I have to say that the theme is absolutely perfect. So 2 to 5 players, and it's absolutely perfect. The artwork as well, like if you were to line the cards up from left to right, you actually see that there's a little sushi train behind them, so you can actually imagine. It makes you feel like you're actually at a sushi train, which is kind of weird thing because you're just playing cards. But Ralph, this is one of the most quintessential classic games. So much so that they even got a rework, which we have in front of us, Sushi Go Party, or the deluxe Sushi Go Party and the Sushi Go. We've talked about it before, but going back and playing it again tonight, I mean, what did we think of it again? I mean,
the thing that drew me to this game initially was the artwork on the cards. It still draws me in. It's a very pretty game. It's very nice to show people. I really like the theme of the scoring, especially of the dumplings, but there's sort of little improvements I would do. Like the dumplings right now, if you get 6 of them, I think it's like 30 points or something ridiculous.
15 points or something, yeah.
But it should be like, if you have a seventh dumpling, you ate too much, you have 0 points. like there could be lots of little things like that, which are cool. But for what it is, it's fantastic. Like I really enjoy this game.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, it's like I've got the original version, which is literally this little tin thing which holds 2 decks of cards, and it's a perfect size to hold in your hand.
Whereas the deluxe version, the party one, I would not recommend it.
Yeah,
so finicky. It's got more types of sushis in there. I still like how there's only one dessert if you go to a sushi train, but it's just such a pain. Like you can't really get it out and set it up quickly and things like that.
Yeah, so Sushi Go Party is the big tin that we have in front of us, and it is probably actually about 4 times the size, too wide, too high on top of it as the original box. Now, I will say the Sushi Go Party does give us some interesting new variants to play. So we played the cutthroat version, which introduced the spoons and ladles and a couple of other little things like eel, nigiri, and things like that. And it was a lot of fun. I still think I really just prefer the base game, the base box. I think the Sushi Go Party has a lot of different variation. It does allow you to play up to 3 more players, so it does allow you to play 8 players, which is great. Look,
I think that would be great for a sushi train. Like if everyone's keen for it, I think that'll be a lot of fun.
So it's not a bad take by any means. The fact that you could, and I actually have played Sushi Go at 7, I think. Sushi Go Party at 7. We've done it before. And the game plays just as quick because everyone's literally pick a card, pass the card, pick a card, pass the card, and just rinse and repeat.
I played a big game of 7 Wonders like that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, the only difference, the thing is though, playing it with that many people, you don't get to see the same cards twice, really. And I do think that takes away some of this game. I think the perfect Sushi Go size is about 4 or 5 because it's like you are going to see the same hand of cards twice.
Yep.
That's it. You now need to figure out what it is you actually want to keep because once it goes, you will only get one more shot at this, but you don't know what will actually make it back to you. I have to say, though, Sushi Go is like $30, $25. I cannot recommend it enough for someone who just wants a nice, simple little card game to play. Yeah. I think it works. Me personally, I have no desire to go buy a Sushi Go Party. I still love it, but I would not be upgrading.
Yeah, I think Sushi Go Party is only if you have that play account, and if you love Sushi Go and want to play with more variants, this will get you more value for money for
Absolutely,
sure.
Yeah.
But for what it is, the base game will be totally worth it.
Yeah, well, and speaking of variants, though, we decided... I've talked about it in previous podcasts, but I finally decided to introduce to you guys the Sushi No variant, which, if you're listening to this and you're going, what the hell is that, Sushi No? It is exactly the same game, except now, instead of trying to get the most amount of points, we're playing golf rules, and you do not want the most points. You want the least amount of points, and that's the only variation to the game. What did you guys think of Sushi No?
I loved it. Straight up. It was so much more tense. You're looking at the cards. When you're playing 4 points, it's hard to go wrong. You know, you've obviously got things, you know, you need 2 of these, you need 3 of these, you want your wasabi before your nigiri, those sorts of things. But if you're just picking and playing cards, you're going to end up with some amount of points. And, you know, you're just playing the game. Whereas when you're trying to avoid the points, it's so much harder to do, and creates so many tense situations. You don't want certain cards to come back around to you, but maybe I want to send that tempura back around to Ralph.
Yeah.
Even though it would do well on my board, because I don't have one yet. Maybe I want to give him and save it to try and screw him over.
And you did.
It's a lot more, I guess, cutthroat. There's a lot more laughs to be had. I do think you should play obviously the regular version first and get acquainted with that. But no, I loved it. It's definitely my favorite variant for sure.
Yeah, what I really liked about it was playing Sushi Go was you just pick a card, play it, you get the points at the end of the round. That was it. We were all pretty quiet. This one was tense. We were all talking a bit of smack, like, "Nah, I'll leave that one for Ralph." Or, like that was a lot of fun. It did remind me a little bit of a card game, which we might talk about in a later episode, called Six Takes or Six Nipped.
Yeah.
In the fact of you don't want to pick up points, so you're playing cards to avoid getting the points. So this reminded me a bit of that, but it felt more of a strategy game. It was fantastic, Sushi No. Highly recommend that one.
Look, it takes the formula of what you know, and you guys have said it, and I knew how good this was, and I was like, because all of a sudden some strategies actually popped up that I did because I played it before, and you both went, "What the hell are you doing?" Oh, right. So for example, so one of the ones, there were two different strategies that I did. Yeah, the first one was the marquee rolls, which in standard Sushi Go, which is you want to have the most amount of marquee rolls, and if you have the most amount, you get 6 points, and if you have the second amount, you get 3 points, right? So in Sushi No, one of my strategies that I played was I'm only gonna take marquee rolls, and I took 3 of them before you guys all went, "What the hell? Why are you taking all the marquee rolls?"
And
I
you
went,
won the game by 1 point, I think.
No, it was like 4 points or something that I think it ended up being. But like it was one of those moments where you both were sitting there going, "Why the hell? You just took a 3 marquee roll." And I went, "Yeah, I know." And then the reason you take the 3 marquee rolls first is because then it becomes people don't necessarily want to take, I should have actually taken the 1 marquee rolls first because then you're like, I don't know if I want to take a 3 marquee roll. But the idea is quite simply, I only want to take 6 points, not like multiple points for different things. So if I just hammer marquee rolls, I'll just only get 6 points.
Yeah.
And you both, as soon as you both realized what I was doing, you both instantly took a marquee roll. You're like, we can't let him keep only taking marquee rolls. And you immediately both took it, right? And that was that moment you went, oh, okay. But then the second one was wasabi triples your points. And so I took a wasabi in the middle of, at the beginning of the game.
That was suicide.
Yeah, and you both went, what the hell? You just took a wasabi. And I went, I know. And you went, Ralph went, oh God, he's going to take an egg nigiri and he's going to just get 3 points, isn't he? And I went, yep. And you were just like, oh God. And you realized all of a sudden, like with those 2 moves I did, you went, oh, there's actually ways of limiting your points to a point that you're like, okay, this is not actually a game of getting points. It's actually a game of what I called point mitigation.
That's right. It's minimizing the damage you have. So I think the last draft I had in that last game we played, I had a pudding or a dumpling, and either one of them was going to get me 6 points. But I was like, nah, I'll try and mitigate the damage. I'll give Nee the pudding, and I'll take the dumpling 6. So at least Nee might get 6 points as well.
Yeah.
But then the card that Blake gave me was a pudding anyway, so I got the max point lost. It just made that drafting so tense.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that I've always found about it, which is that even though the drafting is tense in the initial, this immediately actually made you look up because you actually look at, okay, what is this person not wanting to take? Because if I know what they're not going to take, then I know what I should be taking.
Yeah.
And you guys both talked about it, which is when you are doing it just picking cards for the sake of picking cards, you don't really care what other people are picking up. However, in this variant, you do.
Yep.
You really care what people are going for, because I'm like, okay, if I take a tempura, I need to know how many tempura are out there, because I don't want to come in flying back here and giving me 5 points. And it's like, oh my God. And so if you have played Sushi Go and if you own Sushi Go, but you've never tried this variant, please do. I cannot recommend it highly enough.
To tell you what, I've been thinking about it, and there's one card which I thought was the most interesting card out of the variant that we played in the expansion. that I would want in Sushi No, and that's the miso soup.
Oh, that's
For those who haven't played,
that would be so good.
the miso soup was my favorite part of
Yeah.
even because there's a tense. Okay, so the miso soup's worth 3 points, but if someone else also plays a miso soup in the same reveal, you get 0 points and you both discard the card.
Yeah.
So it's sort of this tense: will they, won't they?
It's a Mexican standoff.
Exactly.
It is, yeah.
Which I think would only double
Yeah, because
if it's a Sushi No, because you don't want the points, so you're wanting someone else to play it. And I think that would just be fantastic.
That would be a great
You literally have
addition.
made
Yeah.
me want to go. We have to put that in and just see how that works. That would be that'd be
It's fun playing. I played this like 5 players, the deluxe version with the soups, and
Yeah.
there's guaranteed someone else is going to take it. So you never try it, and if you get it, it's so fun. Like it's so rewarding.
I do like the fact though that the way that I've always thought about Sushi Go is actually it does actually reward more experienced gamers as well, because not only are you going, I want specific point combinations, whatnot, you start thinking about it in terms of points per card.
Mm-hmm.
So like it actually turns out that if the best combo that if you can get it is wasabi and squid nigiri, because it's 4.5 points per card.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like people go, oh, sashimi is 10 points. Oh, I want to get that. So yeah, but it's actually 3.33 repeating like points per card.
Yeah.
So it's like actually the salmon nigiri and a wasabi is 6 points for 2 cards is nearly just as good as a 3 point as a 3 card wasabi. So it like a sashimi. So this is where like why I love Sushi Go so much is because it actually does reward you from going, okay, like tempura is 2.5 points per card, but not a lot of people go tempura because it's not really the sexy combo. Oh, it's just 5 points. It's 2 for 5. I'll go for 3 for 10. But like, if you can just like, I found if you can knock off, to 2 tempura like 5-point combinations, you're doing so much better than because someone goes, oh, he's getting sashimi. Whatever. I'll just chuck one down, screw you over, and you're like, no. But no one really tries to block you from getting tempura.
No, and that's it. And it's how contested the card is. Everyone's going to contest the higher scoring cards. 'Cause like you say, they're the sexy combos. But if you're just playing underneath and, taking the cards that no one wants until the very end, then you're just going to play your own game. It's, you're taking the resources that no one else is trying for.
Yeah. Taking 6 yards underneath, taking an underneath throw, 6 yards, line up the run, we'll take a first down, we'll move the chains. Just keep the drive going.
Is it still Sushi Go?
No, I've been watching a lot of NFL. The championships are just done and Super Bowl's coming up, so we've been watching a bit
So
of it.
Sushi No is a touchdown?
Absolutely. A touchdown with a 2-point conversion.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Just want to think back 10 years, Australian Idol doing that touchdown thing, if you guys remember that. What the hell was that?
Mark Holden was it?
Yeah.
That's goal. No, that's
that was
that's
the footy show.
Footy show. Oh, we're well off topic here. No, that's like Mark Holden. He did go. That's a touchdown right there.
Yeah, what was that?
I don't know.
He didn't even do that. He did like this weird thing.
Yeah. Touchdown. I don't know. I don't know. He needed a thing. I don't know. Anyway, so look oh God.
Somehow that evolved into the goal buzzer. I don't know
where the segue is here, but we're going to try and find it and move on to our final segment of the evening, which is we want to have a quick chat about board game friendships and board games, and how we obviously we started this podcast as a way to share our love of the hobby with you guys, but also to kind of make you, if you're listening to this going, I don't really have a lot of, maybe a lot of people don't have a lot of friends to play with, to kind of open your eyes and go, I think this is one of the perfect hobbies if you can, to go find a local meetup group and make some new friends. I mean, look, the perfect example of it is myself and Ralph, and Blake and Ralph, and I guess, which is that, before last year, we didn't actually know Ralph. I mean,
I didn't know you guys.
Yeah, we didn't know you, and now here we are, nearly 9 months later, doing a podcast together and going, hey, he's one of my good friends. I really like playing games with him. But that all came through the medium of board games, of going, hey, I'd like to play a game with this person, going, hey, I actually really enjoy spending time with this guy. He's actually really smart. He's really funny. And I find, look, this is the medium for it, I guess. I think, I want to hear from you guys what you think about this topic and about other things. If you've got any other stories as well, I'd love to. And I think the audience would love to hear them too.
Yeah, I mean, if you want my recommendation of, whether board games, board game and friendships, I'd say don't do it, or you end up on a podcast with with three Questionable guy. No.
Actually, I just want to say you're doing quite well. You haven't like bought a lot of board games since we started this.
I've got a few on.
He's got a few
Kickstarters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I haven't received any yet, but trust me, it's the ball's rolling.
All right, interesting.
He's also said that when Frostpunk he asked me. He asked me the other week. He goes, "Look, give me your honest opinion. Should I back it?" I went, "Can you wait?" And he goes, "Probably." And I went, "Just buy it on release, mate. You'll just be so much." He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to do that." So he's got Frostpunk, but like as soon as that comes out, he's going to be buying it.
I'm doing that with Ra. As soon as that hits the shelves, I'm going to pick.
Is that the new edition?
Yeah. So that was on GameFound like probably 3 months ago, and I was like, maybe I should. And I'm like, no, just wait for retail. It's fine. It's fine. It's going to come there. I'm sure.
It's fine. It's fine. I don't need it now. Yeah. I need it. Right. It's just like yeah. This hobby has been one of those things where I truly felt like at one stage I was more of a collector than a player. Like I certainly was buying things, so I thought, oh, that's really cool, and I'd love to have it. Didn't have the space for it at the time, and now I do. But now I realize that I am more of a player than I am I still like collecting it, but I really want to play more games than. And I think like even. I can't believe the timing. Like you guys had only started MacArthur Board Gamers like probably like 12 months.
Yeah, probably
before.
Just a year before we started this, I'd say.
Yeah, so I was like, and I went, oh, I wonder if there's actually guys in my area and girls for that matter, and who play games. And it turns out there was, and I went.
It's growing as well. Like every time like I sell a game or something and I meet that person to pick it up, I'm like, so do you live in the area? They're like, yeah. Have you heard of this board game group? Like, and they're like, cool. And then I see, like, because I'm an admin, they request it. I was like, yep, we're adding them in.
I'm gonna make a little bit of a confession here as well, which is the first time I ever went to a board game meetup. I think it was like June last year, probably, or actually maybe April or May. No, it would have actually been April because it was before GooberCon, because I met you guys and then I invited you over to GooberCon. I actually was really nervous, and a lot of people may be out there going, oh, I don't know if I could do it, mate. I don't know if I could go put myself out there and meet new people. Like, I'm not really, extrovert or whatnot. And I like to consider myself quite an extroverted guy. I love talking to people, love getting out there, play sport, play games. I do theatre for God's sake, right? I kind of get out there. But this was one of those moments where I was like, I really was putting myself into a world of like I knew no one.
It's the unknown.
It was the unknown, and like that first night it was just Damo, myself, Reese, and Ralph were the four that rocked up. And this was post-COVID, so not a lot of people.
So when you played Wise Guys, was that one?
No, not that one. That was the one where Damien introduced me.
Yeah,
Rob wasn't at that one. This was the one where we played Clank. That was the first one.
Yeah, I don't think I was there that night.
I think you were. But it was definitely a fourth.
Maybe
person.
I played something else.
Yeah, maybe it was. But that was one of those moments where I was legitimately. I was sitting in the car for an extra like 8 minutes before I got out of the car, and I was sitting there going, "Why am I so nervous?" Like I was legitimately like jittery. And then I get up there, and Damien's like, "Hey mate, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm actually doing really well. Like, you want to play a game?" We're like, "Yeah." So we just sat down and we played like a World War II in Blitzkrieg.
That's fun.
World War II in 20 minutes, right?
That's really good.
And from that moment, I was like, "Oh, I'm in. All right, okay." Like, not that I was in with the group, but I'm like, "Okay,
yeah, I can do this,
and I can play some games." And then we had quite a few people, boys and girls, and all different people come and rock up. And my goal is to be as friendly as Damien was to me. To
everyone.
Really. Well, but like that's what especially to the new people, for the people I've not seen before. If they rock up, I want to be as friendly as he was to me. To go, hey, welcome. Let's play some games. You're more than welcome here. And look, I think, and that's how I end up. Now I'm an admin of the page as well, because I want to help spread that. I want people to do that.
And I'm running those Blood on the Clock Tower events, and we see new people come all the time to give it a go, and we want to make those as welcoming as possible and comfortable, because not only is the game intimidating if you've never played it before, you're in a room full of strangers, and it's a social game. It's not just sit there. So it can be, but we try and make it as comfortable, and everyone is all there for it and really on board with it, especially if it's your first time. For me, the hardest thing, like I was used to going to those small meetups with 4 or 5 people, but I went to the board game barbecue thing and there was like 100 people there at the time. It was one of the earlier ones. It was pretty big. not only was it intimidating because it was so big and everyone was sitting at a table and you're walking around, you're like, I have no clue what they're playing. Like, this looks so intimidating. As soon as you sit down and play a game with someone, you're like, we met this guy and his daughter. It was a beautiful game. Had a great hour and a half together. Shook hands. Never seen him again. But everyone was lovely.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I played Feast for Odin with just two strangers, but we had so much fun.
Yeah.
So get to those events. Like, they're fantastic to meet people. I've made quite a few friend groups through those events. And we talked about Twilight Imperium a lot. The way I got into that was literally a Facebook post saying, hey, like some guy posted on TI Australia or Sydney or something, saying anyone free for a game sometime in November or something. And I was like, yeah, I am, sure. And he's like, cool. He didn't say it, but he kind of was just like, I want to meet you to make sure you're not a weirdo.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be spending 12 to
that's
12,
right.
14 hours together playing a game. You know?
Yeah, so he invited me over to his house. And then I told my wife, hey, I'm going to the stranger's house. If I don't text within half an hour, send the police. You know what I mean? Like, you've never met this guy before. But he's turned into like a great friend over probably 8 years now.
That's awesome.
And since then, like, I think it was about 5 years ago, we kind of made that big commitment. And we're like, let's get Gloomhaven. Yeah, let's do Gloomhaven. We can smash that out. And then literally it was like every second or third Friday night or so, we were playing Gloomhaven. COVID happened. We finished it over lockdown. There was 4 of us in the group. And in Gloomhaven, that's a city. And there's a pub called the Sleeping Lion. And some missions start in the pub and so on and so forth. Anyways, this package arrived at my house during we were all locked down, and we were about to finish Gloomhaven that night on Tabletop Simulator. We transported our whole game from the box into the computer, like campaign. Everything was the exact same. It took ages. He goes, open this up when we beat Gloomhaven. I was like, okay. So we beat it. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and we all turned our webcams on. I opened it up. We all opened it up together. We all got the same package. One of the guys bought like a stein that said the Sleeping Lion on it.
Oh,
and we all poured a beer, and there's like a photo of us all cheesy. And this is all like lockdown, or hair is like 6 times bigger. Yeah. Like, it was terrible. But so we made like some real meaningful connections to genuine people. And this is in addition to meeting you guys through gaming as well. Yeah. Like, it's just, it's a great hobby to be in. There's some fantastic people around. Yeah. So, definitely don't hesitate to try and meet people through this hobby.
Absolutely. And I think one of my favorite things about this hobby is just how flexible it is. Because before I knew, I've known Nee for quite a while through his brother, Nick. I've been friends with Nick since just after high school. But Nick, one night just, did you want to come? I'm going to board game night with my brother's hosting with a few of his friends. Did you want to come around? And I'm quite the opposite of Nee. I'm would consider myself a lot more introverted. And I was thinking, I don't know, I'm only going to know one person there. And you get the feeling you're crashing,
I get that feeling sometimes too.
But I decided to do it, and I've always in my life loved having a hobby outside of my work, like a sport or something to do. And the shift work that I do means I can't commit to a certain night of the week to do that sort of thing, and it's definitely something that I was missing. And so Nick invited me along. I had an absolutely fantastic time straight away. It was Great Western Trail. A huge game, but I fell in love straight away. The meat of that game drew me in straight away. Everyone was great there, and and now I'm stuck with this, I suppose. Yeah. But
look, I'll never apologize for that being your introductory game to board games, because I knew you could handle it. Because I knew, having played Civ with you and stuff, I'm like, if you just give me half an hour to get you into the rules and get you into the game, I promise you'll find something here. And by the end of the game, the classic debrief happens where we all sit there at the end of the game going, oh man, there's so much there to unpack, and you're like, what happened? And then you start thinking about it. And I will admit, even as, we've talked about how it is actually very nerve-wracking, because board gaming is one of those few hobbies, especially in a digital age, that requires you to go and make face-to-face connection. It doesn't require it but I don't think you get as much out of it unless you do.
Yeah.
And I think that can, for a lot of people, can be very, very intimidating and very something like, you said, even though you knew me and you knew my brother and you knew it was fine, you still felt like, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to interrupt or I don't want to do that. And like, even though you knew, I'm like, yeah, mate, come, that's no problem. So like, it's only imagine like when people are going, oh, there's a board game meetup. I hope these guys are nice. And I find that, I reckon everyone that I've met so far has been really good. In fact, most people have been very welcoming with like, hey, you want to play a game? Yeah, sure. I don't really know how to play it. That's fine. I'll teach you. Let's go. That's the point. Most people understand the purpose of those nights, especially meetup nights, is not for you. It's for the other. It's for everyone else. Of like, I've got some games. Let's play. And, you want to learn? Yeah, I'd love to learn.
And I think where I managed to break that barrier, it's just taking the plunge. I played with Nee's group, gone to GubaCon before, done all that sort of stuff, but still for quite a while there at the start, it was just playing with the same people, the people that I already knew. The family members, the friends.
It's hard to come into that tight group sort of thing.
And that's all I sort of played around with. But then when Ralph and Damien came to GubaCon, and they sort of said to me and Nick, "Do you want to play a game of
Blood Rage?
Vikings or something?
Blood
Rage.
Yeah. Blood Rage.
Great.
And Vikings, hell yeah, I'm in.
Vikings combat drafting, yes.
And we all sat down, me and Nick with two strangers,
we didn't really
at the table,
know
and
you.
You just get straight into. It's just such a good thing a common experience to just sort of have fun around. And I felt like, okay, this is an experience. I guess not that you could have with everyone. Not everyone's gonna enjoy the game, or but if you've got that commonality in that everyone's there for a sort of board game, that's what you're there for. You're gonna find common ground over the game, and you're gonna create friendships.
Yeah,
I know someone that recently went on Behold Games board game cruise. They do a cruise. I believe that they're starting to do it annually, but it's a 10-day cruise. I don't believe it goes anywhere, but you're just there. You bring your games and you play board games for 10 days on a boat. Doesn't sound too bad, but she said, like, you can literally just walk up to a table. You don't really know anyone, and you just go, "Oh, you're playing this game? Cool. Do you mind if I play with you?" Or something like that. And she said that everyone was more than welcome to have you, because that's the type of people that are in the board gaming hobby. They're just happy that you're there. Really, like it's a good feeling. But I do want to say, I have gamed in board game groups where it does not gel. And that's fine.
Yeah,
because
it is. It's fine. It is fine.
No one's like rude or anything like that, but like you might disagree with certain things in the game itself, and you realize, hang on a second, I'm not having fun anymore, and that's fine. It just means you don't really play again with those people. Like, you might find a different group, but they're guaranteed there's someone out there for everyone in the board gaming world.
And that is something that people you do need to be aware of, is that you may not get along with everyone. But whilst we're all playing the game, we're all kind of here for the game. And I'm not saying that you need to go out there and make best friends with the people that you go to the meetups with. Please don't think we're trying to imply that, hey, you need to go out there and be best friends with everyone. Like, we're very lucky that our circumstances kind of led to this kind of this point. But there are people that I do play games with, but I only play games with them. I'm friendly with them, but I wouldn't say that they're my close friends. But that's fine, right? I really enjoy playing games with them, and I enjoy that experience. I have to say, like, just to quickly sidestep, like, the day that you went to Damien's house and played Search for Planet X, and I wasn't involved, it was kind of like a proud dad moment where I'm like, he's moving on. He's going to play other games without me.
Ralph?
It was when Ralph was there.
You met Luke and Damien that night.
And I have to admit, though, but that was that moment where I kind of was like proud dad, where I'm like, I knew that how big of a step it was for you to just kind of go, like, we've only ever really played my collection. And then someone else finally goes, hey, like, you want to come play? And you're like, yeah, you know what, I will. And I knew how big of a step that was. And that's really cool to see. I think it was really awesome.
What's cool about the Clock Tower nights, there's one lady that comes pretty much every week, but she's really timid, really shy, and you can tell, like, she suffers from some sort of anxiety issues and things like that. But she's a absolutely lovely lady. But she's there every single time we do it now. And that's fantastic, and she's slowly coming out of her shell, and that's just fantastic to see.
Yeah, I think we kind of just to kind of close out the segment. I think she's kind of been a bit of a wholesome episode.
Always is.
It always is, you know. But like I think really, for me, it's just if I could leave everyone with one point, it's like, you know, if this is a hobby that you're into and you're thinking, I don't really have a lot of people that I want to play, or my friends can't play as often as I want. There are plenty of players out there who would love to play the games that you're putting out there. So
I just want to close with a funny story, actually.
Please do.
So the way I met Matt, who's also a co-host of the podcast here, my wife was in a musical. Fantastic musical. It was amazing. Definitely go to the Campbelltown Theatre when you can. And there was a big after party for the cast members and their partners, and my wife's like, you have to come. And I'm like, sure, let's go. And I'm thinking, all right, I'm a musical guy. Like, I really enjoy my music. So I was like, oh, it shouldn't be too bad. And then slowly, I get to Matt's house where the party was, and I realize, oh, he likes Lego. I like Lego. Cool. I start eyeing all the Lego, and I'm like, hang on, that's not a Lego. That's a board game. That's a bigger board game. Is he a gamer? And I start talking to Matt, and I see the face, my wife's face, as it shifts from Matt is Tina's friend to Matt is Raoul's friend. I see the worry in her face, and I'm like, yeah, it's happening.
yeah, I love that when Tina was like, you said, it's like, they're no longer my friends, they're your friends. It's like, yeah, I'm Tina, I'm sorry, you kind of is our friends, but you know, that's how it is. Maybe she should come play some more board games with us. Maybe
I'd say
we
so,
could swing
definitely.
it back.
Yeah.
All right, well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring it to the end of this episode. Episode number 23. We're heading towards 25, quarter of a century. I think, yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, actually. Hopefully we'll have Matt back in a couple of episodes, but if not, we do have a couple of interesting things planned coming up.
For sure.
In fact, next week, look forward to our first guest
Of season 2.
of season 2. Not our first guest ever. We've had a couple. So we have our first guest of season 2 next week. Look, if you're still listening, which I hope you are, please go to our social media, which is our Facebook group, which is Board Game Gateway. We also have a website, www.boardgamegateway.com. We have all of the links to our other social medias there, Discord, our YouTube channel. Go there, look at all the videos, stuff. We'd love to have you part of this community. We'll look out. We are planning on doing some Board Game Arena tournaments this year, so there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and we are very excited to have you there. So on behalf of myself, on behalf of Blake, and on behalf of Ralph, we'd like to say thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
See you later.
Nothing from you, Ralph? No, it's okay.
No.
I've already faded it out by now. It's all good.
I froze. Touchdown.
In fact, you can probably hear it fading out right now.
You just hear Ralph's laugh.